Afternoon, Fulham fans, to an episode of Live by the River where we're going to review the match between Burnley and Fulham that ended Burnley 2, Fulham 3. And I don't think we've ever felt so conflicted in a football match. Alternately, moments of individual skill and flair with some lovely through balls interspersed with some passages of comical defensive mistakes, frailties, and some extraordinary technical mishaps. And Tom, I don't actually know how we won that match. I'm still slightly bamboozled by the fact that we did win, and obviously I think that the only difference between us and Burnley to me in that match was H. Wilson. Do you agree, or
Yeah,
you think
definitely agree.
because I think Burnley had periods in that match where they seemed to dominate, or is that just me misreading the game?
I think dominate's a strong word.
Yeah.
I think they definitely had more chances than we should have allowed them.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I just think it was two quite poor defences against each other. Ironically, because obviously Burnley had that amazing defensive record in the Championship, but there was some appalling defending from them. Obviously, the first goal was a massive error from them.
Yeah.
And then we had some comical defending. I mean, I actually thought three of our back four, I mean, even Bassi, who got a goal, I thought defensively were really ropey. Robinson back in, I didn't think he looked fit or ready or sharp. So, yeah, I just think it was two really shocking defences. And, you know, there was 5 goals in the game, so that kind of reflected. And, yeah, I agree. I think Wilson being on this form is why we won. Otherwise, we could have been looking at another 2-2 or even like a 2-1 loss.
We'll talk about Leno as well, because I think without Leno, again, we could have lost that match. And I think because we've won it and because we've had a few individual really fantastic performances, and I mean Smith-Rowe, Wilson and Leno, I think it's papering over the cracks, because I think defensively we're I mean, I don't want to use the word shocking, but I just have. And I was just astounded by just literally the clown shoes style of a bagatelle like
Well, it's 9
ball play
goals
in
the last
our
3 games.
penalty area. In what? Sorry.
It's 9 goals in the last 3 games that we've conceded.
And I think we're 16th. Goals conceded, we're 16th. Then Leeds 30, West Ham 32, Burnley 33 and Wolves 35. So we're down right at the bottom of the amount of goals that have been conceded this season. So it obviously is a real issue that needs to be dealt with. And again, I think we'll talk about that later on. But I think we all felt that it was a must-win match. But I don't know, I didn't like the way that some of the commentators were starting the game off, and I just thought I thought they were quite patronising towards Burnley. Do you remember when they were going on about, oh, they've redecorated the tunnel, and oh, they've got LED lighting now, and it was all just a little bit, I don't know, I just felt there was a bit of a mocking tone. And you talk Burnley's was a really successful and it's club, and it's a massive club. It's a one club town. Anyway, with the defence then, in the Championship was excellent, and he did quite well with us again in the Championship. But as soon as they get into the Prem, as soon as he gets into the Prem, it doesn't seem to work for him. And I know they've obviously had to ship a lot of players, but with Fulham, he had a really, really good squad. I mean, an excellent squad that has, the individuals have gone on to be amazing around Europe at the moment. So I think the jury's still out with Parker, but I honestly thought that Burnley had a really good go. And I think I've been listening to a number of the Burnley podcasts. They've been very harsh on their side. I thought they did a lot better than perhaps they were suggesting, but obviously, they see them week in, week out, and we do understand what watching a Parker inspired team sometimes can be like. But did you think what were the reasons why you think that they did have a chance in perhaps winning that
Because
match?
our defence was all over the place. There was no I think the midfield was too easily bypassed. That's going to happen when you've got Iwobi in there. And as we've said previously, we think it's worth the risk playing Iwobi in there because the lack of creativity from central areas is just too much of an issue when he's not in the middle. But I do think we are just too easily bypassed. As we have said before, we don't think Berger's forte is like breaking up play. And then I think Robinson wasn't sharp, throwing him back in after a long time out, and then he does the 90 minutes.
I found that astonishing. I couldn't believe that he did the whole 90 because he obviously wasn't. There was no way he was match fit, and you could tell by some of his shots he wasn't match fit.
Well, and also he's the sort of player where he can't just kind of 50% it. Like everything he does is 110%. So not only are you increasing the risk of further injury, if you know, it's not like he can just kind of take it easier. He can only play at full pelt. So obviously not being sharp, that first goal we conceded to make it 1-1, like it's between him and Bassi, but he doesn't know whether to go to the left back or cover Ugachukwu, who makes that inside run, and then obviously it just creates a ginormous gap. But I thought Anderson had a poor game. I thought Bassi, despite scoring and then despite having that heroic run and shot, I thought Bassi was a bit worrying defensively. So that, to answer your question, I think is why they had so many chances. Like, Cullen's a decent player, and Ugachukwu I think is a very good player. He'll probably go on to stay in the Premier League. But
I thought he looked amazing, that lad.
I do think we've been very porous recently.
Well, the stats prove it, don't they? That we're like the fifth worst goals conceded record. So it proves that. So I think that's something that Silva really needs to try and rectify. And perhaps this is something that he could do. I mean, would you actually drop Anderson and put Diop in with Cuenca for the Wednesday match against Newcastle? Or would you have 5 at the back? With Anderson?
I think it will be Anderson and Cuenca, and that's probably what I would do. Yeah. Just because I think changing both of them might be too much of a risk, considering we're already losing Iwobi, Chukwueze and Bassi from the starting lineup. Obviously, it's hard to think of a midfield option that isn't Berger and Lukic, because I don't think there's any chance he's going to risk playing King and Smith-Rowe in there, especially in a quarter-final. I mean, it's just a real shame we're losing them for that game. But yeah, I think I would go Cuenca and Cuenca and Anderson. So,
would you also play Robinson? Because I don't think I would.
Depends what the situation with Sessegnon is. It's kind of a little bit... The communication, I don't think, has been great in terms of we don't know how serious or severe it really is.
It's odd. Apparently, I found out that I was looking at all the stats, and Fulham obviously aren't involved in many top stats at all. But Sessegnon is. And can you guess what he's the top in?
No.
Well, Tom, it is. He's got the most fouls without being given a card. Apparently, yeah. So Fulham is top in one stat. Not probably the one that you'd want. Anyway, but yeah, there does seem to be this growing secrecy about players that are injured. It's a bit like Solanke, isn't it? Spurs.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on with him. But yeah, it would be nice to be told what's going on with him. And I again, it's going to be a really tricky one on Wednesday. Especially, they're probably going to be quite up for it because they
just lost to Sunderland.
Yeah, so I think they're. Mind you, Dan Burns might not be playing, and he does tend to score against us. Anyway, if we get back onto the Burnley match then, and we've got around about the 8-minute mark, you've got Smith-Rowe scoring. And again, I thought another really fine display by Smith-Rowe, working really hard, but also he's got the top for the most successful pass completion. I mean, it's double that of the next best, which is Berger.
He looked like he was enjoying himself.
He actually did, didn't he? And he was running on, and I remember running to the line, trying to save it, and he got it back in play. That kind of running down balls, that sort of thing. And I thought he was just looks like a different character. I mean, emotionally, he looks so much more, like you said, so much more happy. So he scores from the Wilson corner. Obviously, I think a lot of Burnley fans were talking about Hartman should have done.
He should have got
slightly
that in the
better.
front post, but then I think no one was tracking Smith-Rowe.
No.
And I know they're probably thinking he's not the target in a corner, but it's just so ridiculously easy. And yeah, Hartman should clear it, but I think it's a bit harsh to put it all on him. I think one of the other defenders should have covered.
Just watched Smith-Rowe run past him. So it was. I mean, we can't, because our defensive mistakes were, I think, as bad. And I thought match of the day they didn't mention our defence at all. I was really, really surprised. But obviously, we're not important enough to have that much of an analysis done. I think. Also, Leno did a save after 9 minutes.
Was that the Ogachukwu one?
Yes, which again he saved that. And I think in that sort of first 20 minutes, we couldn't string any passes together. I thought we weren't particularly good after that. Our first goal, it was all Burnley, and then the 20th minute, then Burnley scored that goal, and Ogachukwu was just took it beautifully. I felt. I mean, Cullen's ball through was great, but that lad had a lot to do, and he scored a beautiful goal for them. And I thought, oh no, this is it again. Did you think that we were going to bounce back?
I thought it was an open game, so anything could have really happened, but I wouldn't have gambled on us being the winner. It could have gone either way because, yeah, as I said, it was just two really poor defences. But Harry Wilson did look really sharp, and we know recently he's really in the form of his life. So I actually think before the corner that led to the second goal, Burnley had a really good chance to make it 2-1 to them, and they missed that. So then, as I said, it was really in the balance. And then I just think, again, it's really poor defending, because obviously we have the corner, they clear it, but then it's just a really simple over-the-top pass to Robinson. That Robinson does to Wilson, I believe.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure if it was Robinson, but
Robinson, he did that kind of looping pass to Wilson, who had to chase to the to the line. He manages to stop it going out, and then he does that beautiful, really measured looping ball,
which is really hard to defend, actually. But what they should have done better is picking up Wilson, because obviously Wilson's taken the corner, and then they've just forgot he existed when the ball comes back in. Yeah. So again, he just had so much space to really pick out a deliberate cross. Yeah. And brilliant ball from Harry Wilson. Bassey had to be there. And it's nice to see our players score headers. We don't feel like they score enough headers.
I've never seen him head the ball, Bassey. So it was refreshing that the first header I've seen him do, he's actually scored. So that was excellent, and it just made you feel a little less nervous about the fact that we might lose the match, because I was still certain that we were gonna, blow this one like we always do at Burnley. But as time went on, I really noticed that Raul wasn't moving particularly well, and I have no idea why he was on the pitch, because he's obviously not fit. I mean, I thought at some points he wasn't running well. I mean, I thought he was there was a slight limp when he was running, and I just don't understand why they wouldn't get under 21 anyone, because I just think it's really, really wrong to play someone who is 34 and injured for 75 minutes, which is what he played.
Yeah.
So that's an issue, and who's going to be playing on Wednesday?
It'll have to be Raul again.
Well, I just don't see how that's possible. I just think that's wrong, because he's obviously not fit, and he didn't really have much impact on the game. I mean, God, he was trying his best. But he was obviously injured.
All he's doing right now is providing essentially a distraction. That's all he's doing. And, in the Premier League, you can't really afford to have a striker who's just a distraction. As much as Raul has been a good servant, you kind of need more in this league than that.
Well, if you look, I know you don't. It's a bit, I know that the Opta stats are a bit general, like you were saying, but Raul got 1.8 with his impact compared to Bass's 42. So, I mean, that's how massive a drop it is.
Yeah.
Because he's again, like we said, he shouldn't be playing, I don't think. And Silva really needs to rectify that. I don't know. Just play anyone that is fit. I mean, again, tell us what's happening with Kusiasari. Is he injured or what? So again, that's a bit frustrating, I think. And what do you think about Anderson's little tussle with Broja? That got a bit spicy as the game went on.
Well, they obviously know each other from when they played together with us.
Yeah.
And
no
I think
love lost.
They're both winding each other up. But I think Anderson is someone who he does lose his head sometimes. And I do think he tries and plays these games with attackers. The famous one, obviously, is when he was at Palace and he got Darwin Núñez sent off. So I think he does try and do this with attackers, but getting booked. I think he got booked before the 60th minute.
Yeah, 37th minute he got that yellow card where he I don't know. My husband's a Burnley fan, and he thought that it was a red card. He should have been sent off because he was the last man. But I thought
it was second half he got booked, wasn't it?
Was it? I thought it's got it on my notes here. It's got a yellow card in the 37th minute.
Oh well, I remember thinking at the 60th minute that why is he still on the pitch? He's going to get sent off because he was constantly having these battles with Broja.
Yeah, that in the 60th minute there was another supposed foul, and I think is that the one where that Anderson was holding his face, or I didn't know what was going on, but I thought you just don't risk it. I don't know why he was doing it. There was no need to do it because Broja wasn't having the impact that I think deserved that kind of.
I think I was happy when they started Broja and they didn't start Fleming. I think Fleming would have been a lot more effective.
Yeah, exactly.
But just physical. And when Fleming came on, he was being nasty, and I just felt like, we know what Broja does. He runs the channels really well, and I think he creates space, and maybe Ugachukwu wouldn't have got that space for his first goal if Fleming was there taking it up. But to be honest, I was quite pleased when I saw him not in the starting lineup. No,
I completely agree. And then again, Anderson just did that foul, and then Leno had to make another great save. And then after that, I mean, this is the nuts game it was. You had these massive mistakes, and then you had this wonderful pass by Berger to Wilson, who was 1-on-1, and he would have scored if Hartman hadn't done a really good tackle.
Yeah,
I thought that was
almost the thing with Wilson is sometimes the easier the chance, the less likely he is to score. But having said that, he had a long way to go, and I think just one of his touches was a little too wide. Yeah. He was trying to create the angle. He really strikes me as just absolute instinctual player, Wilson. Beautiful technique. When he doesn't have time to think about it, his shot selection is usually correct. But I can't imagine him too much having those sorts of chances, those sort of Haaland-esque bearing down on goal and then just sending the keeper the
that's
wrong
not
way.
his strength, I don't think, no. And then again, you've got, in the 45th minute, you've got Ugachukwu again with another great strike, which is saved by Leno, which was a culmination of our poor passing again. So that first half ended up sort of, we were 2-1 up.
Yeah.
And then in the second half again, we start off with some poor passing again from us, and that was the bagatelle ball going around in our penalty area, and that was comedic. So again, it was like, what are we doing? And then straight after that, it's then again from the sublime to the ridiculous. That's Bass's run all the way through. What Burnley were doing, letting him just run literally helter skelter on the up to their penalty area, where he does the weirdest kick I've ever seen. I mean, it didn't even graze the crossbar. It didn't even go into the stands. It literally went vertically up. It was fantastic. And the really irritating thing was he'd done all the hard work, and then you had Chukwueze and Smith-Rowe were free, and all he had to do was pass it. And then it would have been 3-1, and then our nerves would have been settled. But he wanted the glory, didn't he? Which I suppose is it fair enough?
Well, I've seen some people say, well, a centre-back, he's probably absolutely out on his feet because he sprinted from his own half. But maybe, that's why as a centre-back, he hasn't got that composure in front of goal.
But that's why he should have passed it.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Then he could have had an assist.
But he probably just had a nosebleed, saw the goal, and yeah.
So that actually certainly cheered us up. And then in the 56th minute, this is literally a minute after that, you got the Wilson goal. Now I know you were saying that Wilson is instinctive, but do you not think that he did have a bit of time where he dwelt on that to choose?
Well, I think he's decided he's doing that before he's even got the ball. Whereas if he's running through on goal, I think he's got time to decide what he needs to do.
Oh,
it's almost dependent on the keeper's movement.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that sort of movement, and even though against Brentford it was a one-touch finish, it's a similar deal. It's right, put it into that far post. And what I think he's already made up his mind before Chukwueze passes the ball. He's going to take a touch so the defenders go one way, and he's going to use a defender to bend it round, and that's exactly what he did. And I want to say about Chukwueze as well, because we thought he had a really poor game up to then.
He did.
We do think... I remember a stat when Alexis Sanchez was at Arsenal, when he was winning Player of the Season and he was on top of the world. And there was a really bizarre stat where Alexis Sanchez had lost the ball more than any other player, I think, in the league. And you're thinking, well, how can that be? He was Mr. Arsenal, he was amazing. And it's because he's trying stuff. Every time he gets the ball, he's wanting an assist, he's wanting a goal. And I think sometimes that's going to be incredibly frustrating, because there were times in this game where he would get the ball and just pass to no one. He would just try something really direct. Yeah. But I just think he's already got 4 assists, so I think there's only 2 players who have more than him. I think only Bruno Fernandes or Shirky have more assists than him. And he's had, 2 starts? And I think he's only had 9 appearances in total. So... And a lot of them have just been coming off the bench. So his stats are good. And I think it's every time he gets the ball, he's looking for positive actions. He's not hiding. But that is going to be very frustrating. So after the first half especially, he was really frustrated. He kept on giving the ball away. Yeah. He gets the ball and he's looking for that killer pass. He gives it. And as you say, Wilson has loads to do. But I think he's just working on flow state at the moment. And how bizarre it is that maybe if we'd have signed Tyrick George from Chelsea, we'd have sanctioned that move to Leeds. And think about it, we're not miles away from Leeds. And as you said, Harry Wilson was the difference this game. You could argue there's at least 2 other games this season where Harry Wilson has been the difference. There's a world where they could have been above us if we'd have let Wilson go to Leeds. So it's funny how things work. Obviously, the Wilson story, he's one of those that his dream was obviously to make it for Liverpool, and it didn't quite happen. So, it's really... And he must have been in Bale's shadow a lot for Wales as well, I imagine. So it's something that he really deserves this. And last season as well, he had that period where he's scoring goals and didn't quite get into the team, even though he warranted it. So... we love that. I mean, he's also just such a lovely player to watch. Yeah. His technique is brilliant. I mean, he's probably already secured our goal of the season, whether it's the Spurs one or the Palace one. So, we just super happy for him. Long may this continue. Thankfully, we have someone in this form where the other players are going to AFCON, because we're really going to need it, especially as Kevin hasn't really done anything yet.
So he didn't even make an appearance, did he?
Which was odd.
That again was another omission, which again leaves us wondering a little bit. But I think it was also, not only did Wilson just do that amazing, virtually like a pass into the goal. I just thought it was a great team goal. So, it was out from Berger. He crossed it to Smith-Rowe. Smith-Rowe then crossed it to Chukwueze, and then that beautiful pass across to Wilson, and it was a really fine team goal, I felt. Then of course you're thinking, right, we've got it's around about the 60th minute, you're thinking, there's quite a long way to go. We're 3-1 up, what could possibly go wrong? And of course they do get a goal back, and it's by Son, isn't it, who looked pretty good the way that he took that goal. And again, do you think that was another defensive error because he was completely unmarked?
Yeah, Bassi, poor clearance, really, goes straight to him. Yeah, I thought the defence was all over the place, to be honest. It's not a great omen going into that quarter-final at all.
No. It's really worrying. And, they talk about the January window. It's just, there seems to be like these kind of fissures appearing in our squad where you're thinking, oh, God, that needs to be shored up and that needs to be changed, and it just seems to be getting bigger and bigger. And it was just the fact we were 3-1 up, and Parker brought on Son, who again was completely unmarked, brought down the ball and then just lit past it beautifully into our net, and then it was just hanging on for the last sort of 10 minutes or so, which was pretty painful, but the usual thing for a Fulham fan, just holding on for dear life. So there were some more subs at the end. I mean, King came on for Raul, and I don't think King suits that.
Yeah, I assumed Wilson would go up front, but it looked like King was just playing that role, and that's not really what he's good at.
Well, he had minus 0.2 in his Opta points, which, he didn't really have much impact at all. I mean, he was on for 15 minutes. So that, again, is something that perhaps isn't working for him. And that perhaps needs to be looked at. And like you said, when Fleming came on for Burnley, Leno had to make a save from him. So it wasn't sort of... I mean, that's what surprised me. It wasn't an obvious win by us. And I know the Burnley fans felt that this was one that they could win, because I think they felt that we were fragile, and we are fragile. But
they were right. They were just more fragile.
They were more fragile, and it just seemed that some of them weren't in the right position, and I didn't quite understand why Foster was on the right wing. Well, I thought he was a out and out striker. I didn't know that he was on the right wing, and I didn't think he had much impact on the game at all for them. So I think both Burnley and Fulham have problems, but I mean, what do you think is the difference? Is it purely because we've got
the manager?
Yeah. And what particularly because he gets the best out of the players, unlike perhaps Parker?
Yes, I think he understands the balance between defence and attack, which is the most important thing in management. And I think Parker is too heavily skewered on the defensive, conservative style of football, which works brilliantly when you've got the best squad in the league and you can control all the variables. Yeah. Because if you've got the best squad in the league, you can just tell them to be solid and organised, and then one of the players who's better than the others will create a moment for you. So, for example, with us in the Championship, it was Mitrovic. There was like 1,000 1-0s Mitrovic. And even though we had the best squad in the league, we were fourth and we went up for the playoffs. With Burnley, they would be so solid and resolute at the back, and that they would just beat teams via attrition. But he does, in my opinion, he is a great organiser, and he seems like a decent guy, even though I don't think he takes as much accountability as he could or should. But I don't think he understands the balance of, to attack, you need to make sacrifices defensively and play players that suit this sort of style. I think he always sort of has the handbrake on. That's been our experience of Parker. And if you don't understand that balance, then suddenly when you try and go attacking, you can see too many goals, and it's the hardest thing. But I think that is the main difference this game. I think Silva is a better manager.
And I think he can get, on the whole, I think he obviously gets the best out of individuals, Silva. I mean, I do question what's going on with our defence, and I still don't quite understand why Anderson's captain, because like you say, he does sometimes loses the plot a little bit. And you need someone that maintains absolute self-control throughout the whole 90 minutes. So we've got our win, an away win, and we've got on Wednesday we have Newcastle away. Any hopes in winning this match?
I'm not massively optimistic just because I know the midfield isn't going to be great.
Well, Joe Linton didn't play against Sunderland, did he?
I'm just focusing on ours, and I don't think ours was going to... I don't think we're going to create many chances because I do think we are just creatively stifled when we don't have Iwobi in the midfield. Unless he does something different, which I highly, highly doubt, and he plays Smith-Rowe or King, or Smith-Rowe and King, sorry, which he wouldn't do. I think it's going to be Berger and Lukic, who again... two individually very good players, but together they just lack the creativity and the forward passes that we need. And
you'll have Raul hobbling around.
Exactly. And then obviously you won't have Chukwueze's dynamism either.
No. So it's I think it's going to be a grim showing up north. So I wonder if we stayed up north and just went east, or did they come all the way back to London?
I imagine they'd come back. Yeah,
really?
They'll probably fly north.
That's shocking if they did fly back to London and then back to Newcastle. So, Fulham fans, again, nothing to worry about on Wednesday. I'm sure it will all pan out and we'll win that quarter-final. So, we'll see. Fingers crossed. And then we've got the small matter of Nottingham Forest. Silva doesn't do well against Dyche, does he?
No.
We don't usually win the manager battle with Dyche, and they're obviously on the up after beating Spurs.
Yeah,
that's
3-0.
right. Yeah, so they're doing irritatingly well. But yeah, Fulham fans. I mean, again, we sounded quite negative, but I think there were glaring worries in that match, but also some sublime football. Team passages of play where it was wonderful to watch, and obviously you've got Harry Wilson playing another blinder. Thank God that he was available for that match. So I do hope you can join us when we do review the match on Wednesday and the match at the weekend, and I hope you have a good week.